Hello, welcome once again to our kitchen here at Trails Inn 62. Today we're going to be canning beef. Now there are several different ways you can can beef. We're going to do the dry pack method because, well, frankly, that's the easiest. So we've done some videos on other meat, chicken, pork, hamburger, bacon, but this time we're going to be doing beef, and I've got a beef loin here that I got a pretty good sized chunk at the store. It was about 15.5 pounds. So I've cut it up, diced it up, and I've cut off the excess fat, and I'm starting to put it in the jars. Now I'm going to use pint jars. So I fit about a pound of beef to a jar, more or less, depending on how you pack it in. You want to put it in the jars, but we don't want to put it in too tight. But we do want to put it in there and leave about 1 inch of head space. I tamp them a little bit, but not a lot, just to get it in there. You don't want it too tight because you want the heat to be able to circulate through there. They'll make their own juices, so you don't need to put any juice in here. You can. Some people put a little bit of juice in my canner, and this does need to be pressure canned. You can't do anything else with meat. It won't, and as far as canning, you can't water bath it or anything like that. You have to pressure can it in order for it to last. My pressure canner will actually hold 10 pints in the bottom, and I've got a double pressure canner, so I can actually do 20 pints. We'll see how many we come out with on our beef. This makes good stewed beef and other things, whatever you need beef for, just to plain eat beef. It's just good. Like I said, you need to leave 1 inch of head space in the top. I'm not real precise on it, but generally about to the bottom of this rim right here is where I count to be 1 inch, and usually that's the bottom of my funnel here. That's about 1 inch right there. So I usually when I come to the bottom of that, then I stop to get 1 inch in there. Now I've got 10 pints out right here, finishing those up, so it looks like I'm going to have a little bit more than 10 pints. Now it turns out that it only did 15 pints of the beef, and I can fit another 5 pints in there. So what I'm going to do, since I don't have my pork cut, I am going to put some beans, dried beans, and I have done a video on this also. These are pre-washed pinto beans, so they're in my container here, and I'm just going to take I'm going to take a level half a cup of beans, and then I'm going to put half a cup per pint. Guess I should have washed my funnel and used it, but anyway, half a cup per pint of dried beans. Now I can do dried beans because they process at the same amount of time as meat does. In this case, for pints, 75 minutes. Quarts would be 90 minutes. Mine at 15 pounds of pressure, because here where I'm at, south of Buffalo, Missouri, north of Springfield, Missouri, we're about 1,200 plus feet above sea level. So you get over 1,000 feet above sea level, and then you have to change the pressure. So I do 15 pounds of pressure. Now I can do these beans at the same time as the meat, and I'm going to put some salt. This is pickling salt, a half a teaspoon per pint, both in my beans and in my meat. Now bear in mind, salt in canning process has absolutely nothing to do with the preserving of the meat or the beans. It's simply for flavor. It helps flavor the meat as it cooks, flavor the beans as it cooks. That's why I use it. If you need to cut back on your salt, you don't have to put the salt in. It's simply for flavor. Lends nothing to the preserving of the meat. Or the beans. Once I get the salt put in my beans, then I'm going to add water, and again, I'm going to leave an inch of headspace, so it's just going to be up to the very bottom of this rim right here. That's about an inch. I'm filling these up with hot water. I just use hot water from the tap, filling them up to 1 inch from the bottom, or 1 inch from the top. Now, I've got everything done, got the salt in, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take vinegar, take a little bowl of vinegar and take a cloth, and I'm going to wipe off each of these rims. I use vinegar, some people use just plain water, but the vinegar will help cut the fat and the oils of both the beans and the meat. And so I'm just cleaning the rims off of each one of these to make sure you get every one of them. So there's nothing on the rim. You don't want anything between the rim and the seal. And the rest of this vinegar here that I have in my little bowl, then I will put this in my canner because we have extremely hard water. And I just dump this in the canner, and that will prevent hard water deposits on the outside of the jars. The next process is the lids. My lids are in hot water here. Some people put them in hot water, some people don't. Don't boil them. You don't want to boil them because it will make them too soft. But simply put them in hot water. That helps soften up the rims, the rubber on the rims, and that way they'll help them seal. My canner heating up. I don't want it to get too hot before I get my jars in because the meat's cold. Now I take my lids. I'm going to put my meat in the bottom here, and I simply put the lid on and just give it finger tight. Finger tight to different people is different. Some people have stronger fingers. I generally just run it down and then give it a little twist with my fingertips. And then I'll set these in the canner and we'll go from there. Now, as you can see, I put 10 jars down in my canner, and then I put another rack on top of those. Now I put about 4 quarts of water in my canner when I do meat or beans because they have to can for so long. Normally I would just put 3 quarts of water in there. There are my 10 jars in the top. Now we're ready to put on the lid. Check my seal. These do have a rubber seal. I checked those. Actually, I think it's silicone. And I check my vent hole, make sure it's clear. Set those down there and snap it too. Now my water's heating up. It'll take a little bit for this to heat up and get going. I have a valve right here, which is an escape, which is an air escape valve, plus this here. This is an emergency valve here. But this one will let steam out. This one will let steam out. When it builds up enough steam in there, this one will pop close. That's when I start timing 10 minutes to vent out the air before I put my weight on. Alright, we see our steam is coming out. And we see our little pop-up here popped up. And that sealed that, and the steam's coming out pretty good. We'll let that come out for 10 minutes. That allows the steam to escape, clear all the air out, build up the steam in there, and then we'll put our 15-pound weight on. Once the weight starts jiggling, then we will time it for 75 minutes. Again, here at a little over 1,200 feet above sea level here, we use a 15-pound weight. If we was 1,000 below, or 1,000 or less above sea level, then we would use 10-pound weight, but we're not. So 15 pounds, what we do it at here in the Ozarks. Now we'll be back as soon as we get through and everything gets processed. Well, here we are. We're all done. Fixing to take them out of the canner. There we go. Plenty of juice in there. Smells good. Now we let the canner cool down by itself till it just all the steam was gone out of it. Don't ever try to release the steam prematurely. Let it go naturally. It always works better for the canning process if you do that. Alright, we get all these set out here. Looking pretty good. Just heard one seal. And there you have it. Pressure can beef. Good stuff. You can take that, you can make fajitas out of it, or you put it in a stew. You can mix up your pressure can potatoes and carrots and green beans and make a stew. You can take it and make a chili out of it, put it with, remember we did some beans with that also. We've done the same amount of time as beef. Do the beans, mix those together, make a chili. It's good stuff, ready to eat. Just heat it up out of the jar and it's good to go. Season it up. Quick and easy. That's what it's all about. We did 15 pints of the beef and then we did 5 pints of the beans, so we have beef and beans. It's a good combination. That's it. Trails End 62. From our house to your house. God bless.